It's like, imagine you're going to math class all the time, but then now you're just going to recess and you're just chilling. That is like the two opposite ways of handling stress. When men are in their cave, women, it is not the time to go and try to have, men are automatically like ready with their boxing gloves on because they're like, what can we do to put this situation to bed? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video. What? Today we're going to be discussing chapter 3 of this book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I think it's important. You may think it's slightly similar to my video of last week, which was chapter 2, which I will link right here and in the description box, but it is different, and we're gonna get into that today. Before we get into that, have you subscribed to my channel yet? If not, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. I'll put the button right here. Yeah, it is that red button. Just scroll down, smash that. Good. Now that that's done, let's get into the video. So chapter 3 is called Men Go to Their Caves and Women Talk. Pretty self-explanatory by just hearing that, but we're gonna get into why men and women do what they do and where they bump heads and how we can interpret and work best with our partner or our future partner based on what they do. This chapter is mainly about how men and women both cope with stress. Life comes with stress. Both men and women handle stress very differently, so we're gonna break down how we handle it. So like I said in last week's video when we were talking about communication, how men are like wired to solve problems and women normally if they have a problem they want to talk about it. Because last week's chapter that we covered was called Mr. Fix-It and the Home Improvement Committee, but now we're kind of taking a little bit of that and then putting it into how we cope with stress. If we all know that men like to fix things and solve problems, how do you think they're going to feel when they're stressed or have an issue? What? What is it, baby? What do you think that man is going to want to do first? He's going to want to solve the problem. How he handles himself, carries himself, deals with himself when he needs to solve that problem is by, like the chapter says, going into his cave. And how women like to solve problems and handle stress is by talking about it. This is, of course, generalizing. I'm sure there are many women that are in more of their masculine energy most of the time, and they maybe do go to their cave and they do handle stress that way. This book is very like generalizing the two genders. If men like to go to their caves and deal with the problem by themselves, either decompress and de-stress from the problem or try to find a solution by themselves, and women like to talk about the problem, that is like the two opposite ways of handling stress. Where men and women bump heads is the women feel neglected when the man goes to his cave and they don't feel like they're getting the attention that they deserve, and a man just wants to deal with his issue. And then if we put it on when the woman is dealing with stress, she wants to talk about the situation. She wants to be emotionally connected and emotionally involved in the situation, and then bring it back to Mr. Fix-It. He's just trying to solve the problem. And he also is thinking that talking about it is not helping solve the issue, it's wasting time and maybe talking too much. That is how Dr. John Gray describes generally how men and women feel about how the opposite handle and cope with stress. Men are focused and withdrawn, and women are emotionally invested and connected. I've mentioned this point before, but I think it's super important because we generally treat people the way we want to be treated, right? So men feel like they would never want to bother another man with their problems. They would never want to put that on them and talk to another man about their problems. Generally, they'll just go in their cave and try to handle it themselves. So that's why they don't talk to their partner about their issues that often. And when men are in this state, they have about 5% that they can put towards the relationship. The rest is focused on what they're gonna do for the problem or decompressing from the problem. It's hard for women to be compassionate to men because the women feel like the man has withdrawn from her. So she's now doesn't know what the issue is. She's being spoken to, short or hardly spoken to, or feeling like it's cold because the man is like not talking to her. She doesn't know anything and she's just feeling rejected and neglected. So it's very hard to be like, it's very hard for women to be compassionate during a time like this because they're like, I would be talking to you about it. I would be telling you what's going on so that you know it's not you. women would just be more expressive about it. So if men and women don't understand this, that is where you can really bump heads often. He gives this really good example, and it says that it's unrealistic for women to think that men can be like open and emotionally involved and loving during a time of stress. And it's just as unrealistic for men to think that women can be rational and logical and just like move on from the problem and be in solution mode. It's not going to happen. We are two genders that are wired completely differently. So the only thing you can really do is understand how you're wired, whoever's watching this, and understand how the opposite sex is wired. And this way, once you understand, you can have the least amount of friction possible. Whether you're with a man or a woman, at least you know that this is the way that these genders handle and cope with stress. Another interesting point that he says is men initially feel like when his partner is talking to him about her problems, she's almost holding him responsible. Like, listen to what happened, look what happened to me, I'm so upset about it, you weren't there to stop it from happening. Men are automatically like ready with their boxing gloves on because they're like, what can we do to put this situation to bed, to squash it, to slay it? They're just not in the headspace to listen and sit and hear and think, wow, that must have been really terrible for you, or that must have sucked, or that is so upsetting, or that is so sad. Like, they're not in that headspace. If she isn't feeling better after discussing it, he's feeling like all of his solutions are rejected, he didn't slay the problem, he's now feeling bad about himself. And really, all us women want in this conversation where we're discussing our issues or our stress with our partner is to feel supported and related to. We want you to listen to us with wanting to understand how we feel. So again, like I said in chapter 2's review, which is still relevant now, us women have to go out of our way to say, babe, I just want to tell you about my day, so don't worry about any solutions. Like, I'll figure it out, or we'll figure it out together later, but I just want you to, can you listen to me for 5 minutes? I just want to talk to you about what happened. And then they can maybe put their boxing gloves down and they're like, okay, I'm not trying to like fight with anybody. I'm not trying to solve any problems. I'm not slaying any dragons. Like, okay, this is easy. This is like less work for me, and let's go. And Dr. John Gray says that once men start getting used to just listening, they start to realize how nice and simple and easy it is, and they can just relax and listen. They don't have to think. They don't have to solve anything. It's like, imagine you're going to math class all the time, but then now you're just going to recess and you're just chilling. Like, that's what it's like. Another thing that he mentions is once a man gets used to listening to his partner talk about her issues, he starts to get more familiar and comfortable with talking about his issues. And once he starts doing that, he realizes how nice it is to express himself and not hold things inside and handle things on his own. He enjoys actually talking things out because it's a form of relief and release. That's interesting also. If you are a guy and you're watching this, maybe give that a little second chance to, talk to your sister about something. Maybe start off with talking about your issues with women because you know that they will be open to talking. We want to talk all the time. We want to listen all the time. Also, it'll be a great bonding experience for you and your partner, because instead of your partner feeling like you are, withdrawing and going into your cave and she feels like she doesn't know what happened and what's wrong, this could be a nice way where you're like, listen, this is what happened at work today. I'm like really not feeling it. It really pissed me off. X, Y, and Z happened. So I'm going to go chill and decompress by myself a bit. That way you're able to express a little bit. She knows what's up, and you can also go to your cave. And you've also let it out a bit, which will feel good. He also says that when men are in their cave, women, it is not the time to go and try to have intimate conversations or emotional conversations or spend quality time with the person. That person needs space, and we as women need to see those signs and let that be so that they can come back refreshed. So with all that being said, that was chapter 3 of the book. I really enjoy this. I think this is a great way to get some little tidbits of information and really key points that will help you in your relationship. I think going chapter by chapter is not overwhelming. I think it's a super fun way to learn. And if you're not into reading and you would rather hear somebody explain things, then this type of video content is for you. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so that you get notified every time I post new content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.